As the cliche goes, April showers bring May flowers. But usually what comes after is the heat and dryness of summer. Hello again, Essay here. And before the hot weather of the holiday shows up, you should indulge in my new short story, The White Cat, a free exclusive on Substack. The links are down below in description. Join Margot Thompson, a beautiful stage actress and recent widow who finds salvation in the form of a white cat during a night of terror. While checking out my oddball thriller, remember that my Glitch series is still available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The links are down below in the description. While you'll find my peculiar story about a white pussy entertaining, that doesn't mean I'm out of ideas. I still have more stories coming down the pike, so as long as I don't run into any mishaps, you'll see those stories as well. Now let's get back to the video. Hello again. Essay here. Long ago, someone a lot smarter than me once said that America's original sin was slavery. I suppose that's a fair enough statement, considering the fact when you look at the Constitution, it said all men are created equal. And it didn't say anything down there about all white men. Okay? Doesn't say that. And we got rid of slavery. Okay. Whole bunch of white folks got killed. Let's not pretend. They did. But then, we didn't quite get our act together. And of course, anyone who knows about Jim Crow, don't have to explain it to you. You already know. But then, in the 1960s, under LBJ, we did get our act together, finally. We had the Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, and other Great Society programs to basically put a stop to it. And we did. All good, right? Well, unfortunately, there were some people who didn't like what we did in the past to basically clean up our, let's say, racial skeletons in the closet. Nope. And before you can say Marxists and communists, yeah, that's right. And then you say, why? Simple. Anyone who's familiar with the Marcuse School, the Marcuse crowd, and the Frankfurt School knows what I'm talking about. Because when those clowns came to the United States, they realized that if you're going to bring Marxism to America, it's not going to work the old school way. Because in Europe, people there had a lot of class issues, since the place is generally homogeneous ethnic-wise. But since the United States was heterogeneous, they said, now how can we stir the shit pot here in America? And then, of course, they realized, oh, they got racial issues in America. Remember, this was back in the middle 20th century. So then they decided to retool their Marxist ideology to fit American culture. Sort of like the way Mao, fine-tooled communism for China. And you say, wait, what? Yeah. Mao famously said that Chinese Marxism is different from Soviet Marxism because it has Chinese characters. Yeah, he said that. Well, anyway, Marcuse and his homies, they did the same thing. They fine-tuned their European-style Marxism to fit American characters. And then they came up with what we call nowadays critical theory, critical race theory, critical social theory, critical gender theory, and on and on and on. And indeed, they wrote several books on the subject. And wait for it, they trained a lot of people in the subject too. Now, of course, Marcuse and his original homies, they're long dead and buried. But to loosely quote Merlin from Excalibur, a very good movie, I might add, they basically planted seeds that basically had taken root. Or as Merlin said, the future had just taken root in the past. And indeed, it did. Now jump forward to the present day. Anyone who's familiar with diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's basically Marxism. Or I should say it's critical theory. You know, with a nice, big red bow. Not necessarily communist red, but let's not get into the weeds. And of course, anyone who's familiar with modern DEI knows that these people are basically like commissars in various Fortune 500 companies. And let's not pretend that's what they are. And they have basically infested multiple companies, more companies than you could possibly imagine. Well, anyway, this video is about one particular company, one you probably are familiar with, Walt Disney Incorporated. Now, I'm going to show you a snippet of a video by that big boy, Jeremy from the Quartering. And let's just say this. What you're going to see, you probably, if you're familiar with DEI, probably would say, yeah, so what? But for those of you who are not familiar with DEI, hang on to your hats and hang on to your skirts, because believe me, this video is nuts. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Now we finally have the evidence, and this could lead to, Disney getting sued into oblivion. We've known for a long time that Disney makes certain hiring decisions based on certain factors that they deem important. It's not obviously whether or not somebody's good at their job. It's not whether or not they have a good work history. It's not whether or not they have a particular set of skills. It's not any of those things. Many believe that their hiring practices and who they put on screen relies solely on how they look and whatever their particular belief system is. That's far more important than getting the right person for the job. Well, OMG has been talking about this. You might know, James's organization has been talking about releasing this, video for quite some time. And now we have a 20-minute long video, which I'm going to go through in depth on my live stream at 5:30 Eastern. So hopefully you'll tune in for that. But Senior Vice President at the Walt Disney Company details their hiring practices, which exclude one particular group of people. Quote, nobody's going to tell you this, but they're not considering any, white males for the job, says Michael Giordano, the Vice President of Business Affairs. Quote, there is no way that we are hiring someone who is white and male. Giordano, why can't I say this name? Giordano reveals Disney uses, quote, code words and buzzwords to avoid legal action, and even mentions a candidate being rejected for, quote, not looking black enough. I mean, if this is all true, which, I have no reason to doubt it, this is the person who would be in charge. This is the senior vice president, right? This is an absolute, mega lawsuit waiting to happen for anyone who's been turned down from a job. In particular, this individual who didn't, quote unquote, look black enough. He also admits that Disney gives bonuses to executives for practicing diversity, equity, and inclusion, quote, agreeing that diversity helps with financial incentives. Giordano further claims that he's been denied promotions for being white. Of course, Disney Tapes Part 2 is coming out. After this was released, just in, Disney senior vice president now has removed his LinkedIn page after being caught up in this investigation, discussing how Disney practices discriminatory hiring practices. We've already seen all of the, kind of the big people weighing in on this. Elon Musk sharing it. It's a 20-minute long video, but let's talk about some of the individual main takeaways here, because it's absolutely bananas that this is even happening. I mean, I can't believe he said it out loud. I'm not surprised that it exists, right? I'm not surprised that, but I'm surprised that they say it so flippantly and out loud. O'Keefe Media Group has released their latest shocker. This time it's an undercover conversation with attorney Michael Giordano, senior vice president and team lead with 20th Television, the Walt Disney Company. He revealed that Disney was not only biased in hiring against white males for the same roles, but that the company was absolutely open about it. He also works in business affairs, negotiations for shows among creatives. Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male for this. It's just unspoken. OMG's undercover reporter asked after meeting him on the Hinge dating app. Quote, "There's times when it's spoken," he said, and he admitted that it would be said bluntly. "There's no way we're hiring a white male for this role." He said further that they'd be careful on how they message that to agents. The backlash against white male actors in Hollywood among the woke studios, such as Disney, has been no secret to the industry. This is via the Post-Millennial, by the way. And actors who have found themselves struggling to find work due to that. But it has seldom been so blatantly expressed. He told OMG's undercover reporter that in many cases, the bias towards, quote, diverse casting members is front and center. "I think there's certainly a belief that there's just good for society. And we know there's also a belief that we're going to make more money if we appeal to a wider variety of people." He said that diversity helps with, quote, financial incentives. Now, look, obviously, let's say there's a particular scenario where you're casting for a particular role, and that role is, a certain type of family, or, there's like, oh, you have a Latino family in the show. So obviously you're going to generally hire around Latinos, this, that, and the other thing. But I don't think that's what they're talking about. He goes on to say, quote, "I've been at the company for 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions," he told the reporter. Those friends have told him outright when positions open up, they are not going to consider white males for this job. It's not even just casting, but internal operations that Disney has determined that race-based promotion is the best way to operate. Man, they're going to get sued into oblivion. Quote, "They wanted something," or he also says the department wanted to hire a person who was, quote, "half black, half white" a few years ago, but that since he didn't appear like his black half, he wasn't given the position. And there was a creative executive who said, quote, "that's not what we wanted." They wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way, he said, and he wasn't going to bring that to the meeting. He also admitted to the reporter at some point there was likely to be a lawsuit over this fact, that it is blatantly practiced by 20th Century and Disney. That's how it feels. It turns out that Disney has something of its own coded language to discuss their biases and how they make sure the hiring practices are skewed towards it. Quote, "I'm guessing," he said, "that there are acceptable code words and buzzwords that are used to explain what they're looking for." And by the way, all of this can be seen firsthand in this video. We're going to go through, Melanie and I will go through this video on today's live stream in detail. But, I don't want to, kind of take his thunder by just playing it here for you. They might say, quote, "We're not looking for the usual suspects for this job," in a sense, he said. It's not really a legally actionable thing, but everybody knows what it means. He admitted that writers and actors are always hearing executives say, "I'm looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity." And in fact, over the years, the entertainment industry, many writers and actors have heard that they are not desirable collaborators simply because their skin is too pale, or that they're too male. Comic actor Tyler Wolf has spoken out against this, and many others who have talked about it privately, with the shame that comes from being untouchable. I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are white, Giordano recounted as being told to those pale male actors. Where do these standards come from? Well, he explains that the standards are set about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is very involved in setting standards to show diversity. He pinned the origins on everything on Disney head Bob Iger, saying that Iger pushes for diversity into shows, including kids shows, which are part of this make up 30%. Part of diversity is making up some 30% of writers on the show who are LGBTQ. He also posits that they naturally gravitate to more LGBTQ storylines because of who they are. Well, I don't think that that's unreasonable, you know? The interview part of OMG's Disney tapes is just part of their entire series on diversity hiring, discrimination, and various policies at Disney. Disney has had its fair share of tumultuousness over the past few years. They went to battle with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and lost, and have had numerous box office flops. And parents have gotten wise to their woke messaging on various stuff, so they turned out. After the report dropped, he deleted his LinkedIn profile, which was featured in the report from OMG. Next week, OMG plans to release part 2 of the Disney tapes, which will feature a confrontation with this individual. Pretty interesting stuff. I mean, the stuff that I'm talking about, he says right here in the video. I mean,
certainly there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken.
I mean, that part, if it really is spoken directly like this, I would assume that there's, a very big lawsuit brewing, especially if you're that individual who was up for a job and you knew that you were passed over for this reason. If you're that one individual who is mixed or whatever, I suspect they're going to file a lawsuit after this, because he said specifically that they didn't get the job because they weren't, quote, black enough.
But how would they say it?
No way we're hiring a white male visual.
Now, people will probably say, hey, this guy's a white male and he's in a VP position at Disney. And I think that would be a very fair criticism to point out, hey, this individual seems to have gotten a job. And I think that that's fair, but who knows when he got that job and how long ago he got that job? Because quite frankly, I don't think things are that way anymore. I don't think that things are quite so easy anymore. That's just the reality of it. And when you're going to go right out on tape and say, hey, actually, yeah, we're not going to hire these types of individuals, I'm sure that he feels he's been passed over for certain jobs.
Like straight to you? Or okay.
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents.
According to these videotapes, Disney blatantly
To bring on any more clients who are white.
I mean, not a good look. Boy, all these dating apps, they just keep catching people on these dating apps. I think it's pretty funny. Yeah, I think the whole thing is pretty funny to me, that they just keep catching these people in the very same honeypot. You see this from that Park Place all the way back to August. Disney employees forced to prove DEI commitment or have pay reduced. Of course, this report just came out, and the stock is up today. It'll be interesting to see if the market thinks that they're going to face any kind of lawsuits. You can see their employees sue Disney over canceled Lake Campus. These aren't very big deals, but if we can get a bunch of people that feel like they were passed over for jobs now that this tape exists, it's going to be pretty interesting. I mean, this proves everything everyone's ever thought. It's going to be interesting to see if any.
Okay, you saw that, right? Now, of course, most of you say, well, we expect all those damn radical leftists have basically dug themselves deep into Disney like a Texas tick. Yeah, that's right. Let's not pretend that's what's going on. But for me personally, I didn't like the fact, if you were paying attention, that these DEI knuckleheads who have basically hijacked the HR department at Disney will not even hire people that are partially brown. And you say, wait, what? Yeah. I mean, because you may not believe this, but I'm only partially brown. And you say, really? Which part? Well, the part you can see. Yeah. Because my family makeup is basically all mixed up. Yeah, I got white folks' DNA, got Cherokee Indian DNA, and God knows what else. Yeah, my DNA's all screwed up. What you see is what you see. Now, there's some people whose DNA is even more mixed up than mine. And if they walked over to Disney, let's just say if they don't look brown enough, guess what? They're not going to get a job over there. Not even a job pushing a broom. And you say, oh, yeah. And before you can say the Fair Employment Act, yeah, that's right. That's against federal law. You can't be discriminating people by race. Doesn't matter what their complexion is. That's a hard rule. I mean, people end up in jail and get fined for breaking that law. No joke. Just like with the Fair Housing Act. Don't believe me? Ask old Trump. And no, I'm not talking about Don. I'm talking about his dad, Fred Trump. Yeah, because he violated the Fair Housing Act, and he was forced to pay a fine afterwards. Didn't go to jail, but he did get dragged into court. No joke. So yeah, Fair Employment Act, you're not supposed to be violating that. And the fact that these DEI knuckleheads seem to believe they have balls of stainless steel to do that tells you got something seriously wrong in Fortune 5000. No joke. Because as you saw in that video, that one guy who wasn't brown was totally spilling the beans. Now at this point you say, now why would he do that? Well, of course it was a hidden camera from James O'Keefe. Thank you, James. But I have a feeling that this guy was kind of, peeved, to say the least. I mean, if you remember in the video, he said that he actually got skipped over for promotions at Disney because he wasn't brown enough. Yeah, that's right. But the thing that irked me was that they weren't even hiring people because people who are, part brown were not brown enough. And I'm saying, wait, what? Yeah, that's right. Because that kind of irked me. I mean, I took that personally, okay? Because if you saw a picture of my entire family, let's just say we'd be a mixed fruit salad. No joke. Because my father, who is no longer in this world, if you met him, you would have swore he was a white guy. No joke. But no, he was what's the Spanish word for it? A mulatto. Yeah, a light-skinned Negro. And he wasn't the only one too. Because my Uncle Jake, who is still alive, even though he's like almost 100, yeah, he's also a light-skinned Negro. So much so that during World War II, when he was drafted, he was put in the white unit. And you say, wait, what? Yeah. Back during World War II, we had a segregated army, black units and white units, separate and unequal. But my Uncle Jake, when he was drafted, he didn't tell the people that he was, a light-skinned Negro. Therefore, they stuck him in the white unit. And wait for it, you ready? They stuck him in the Third Army. And you say, so what? Are you kidding me? The Third Army was General George S. Patton's army. Yeah, that's right. My Uncle Jake was in the Third Army, and he ended up in the Battle of the Bulge. Almost got killed, and then he ended up at the Battle of Remagen Bridge. In fact, I actually made a film about that battle with Robert Vaughn back in the 60s. Actually, a pretty good film. You should look it up sometime. Yeah. Almost got killed then, too. And in fact, my mother told me back when I was a wee little kid, don't ask Uncle Jake about the war. He doesn't like talking about it. And I asked her why, and she said she doesn't like talking about it. Too many bad memories. And I said, okay. And to this day, I haven't asked my Uncle Jake about the war. Just saying. But of course, I read the history books and I knew what happened during the Battle of the Bulge and the Battle of Remagen Bridge, and those battles were pretty bad. So there you go. But if my Uncle Jake wanted to get a job over at Disney, guess what? They wouldn't hire him because he ain't brown enough. Now, in my zip code, we would say, ain't that a son of a bitch? Yeah, I'm not missing my words. That is a son of a bitch. So what we do about it? Well, as that big boy said, these people over at Disney need to be dragged into federal court and sued into the poorhouse. I ain't playing. Because I think the last time I checked, Disney's worth about, I think, $50 billion. Yeah, sue them for $100 billion. In fact, sue them for $500 billion. Yeah, let's see how these DEI knuckleheads like that. Because who knows how many people try to get a job over there, and these DEI knuckleheads kick them out the back door and say, "Don't call us, we'll call you," as in never. Yeah, precisely. But the real question is this: how many other Fortune 500 companies are doing that right now? You know, like ExxonMobil, or damn Lockheed, or oh my God, Silicon Valley. You know, like Google and Apple and damn Amazon. Yeah, makes you think, doesn't it? In the meantime, old Sleepy Joe opened up the damn barn door, and we got, you know, untold millions of people rolling into this country. Most of them are very brown, and no, most of them are not from Africa either. Middle East and points in between. They'll probably roll to Disney and probably get a job there. Maybe, if they're brown enough. Indeed, according to some very smart people, we had an uptick in employment in the United States in the last year. But guess what? Majority of those people who got jobs, guess what? They got no green cards and they got no citizenship. That's right. All illegal aliens. Don't believe me? Ask the people in Iowa right now what they think. Because the story came out, I think it was like back in May, where Tyson decided to close down their chicken plant out there in Iowa. And they're opening up a new plant. I think it's in, upstate New York. I think they said it was upstate New York. And wait for it. They sent Tyson, a bunch of recruiters, to, are you ready? These damn migrant camps that they have set up all over the eastern seaboard. You know, places like Virginia and the Carolinas, and of course in New York. Makes you wonder why, huh? Yeah, that's right. They fired those people in Iowa who probably weren't getting paid that much in the first place to hire a bunch of illegal aliens who they call them, pay them pennies per pound to be making them damn chicken nuggets at their plant. Yep, that's right. Pure scumbaggery. That's exactly what it is. And then, of course, these DEI knuckleheads, some of them who are actually, most of them are grifters, but some of them were actually true believers, they say, oh, we're doing it for diversity on that. There's no diversity in discriminating against people. It's just wrong. Doesn't matter if people were doing it over 100 years ago with Jim Crow. and it ain't right doing it now using DEI. Period. Discrimination, racial discrimination is wrong no matter who does it and no matter what excuses they make for doing it. Period. And anyone who has a brain that works and has a good heart knows this. Well, that's all I have to say about these knuckleheaded DEI doofuses over at Disney, which I hope will get sued into oblivion, as the big boy said. And that's my opinion.